He didn't argue. He didn't hesitate. He just picked up his bag, scanned his boarding pass, and walked onto the plane. While I stood there, being told I wasn't allowed to follow him. Alone. At the airport. Trying not to fall apart in front of strangers. I wish I could say that was the moment everything broke. But the truth is, things had been breaking long before that. Just quietly. Slowly. In ways that didn't make noise. Until they did. My boyfriend is 35. I'm 25. We've been together for a year and a half. And for most of that time, I convinced myself that what we had was stable. Mature. Different. He's a semi-professional athlete, always traveling. New city every weekend, tournaments, flights, hotels, routines. And I tried to fit into that life. Tried to be the easy girlfriend. The one who didn't complain. The one who understood. Even when things didn't feel right. Even when I felt alone. But the past few weeks, they weren't normal. My grandfather passed away. And when I say he raised me, I mean he was the closest thing I ever had to a father. Losing him didn't just hurt. It felt like something inside me collapsed. At the same time, I was already carrying something heavy. Something I don't talk about much. Last August, we had an abortion. We both agreed to it. We said it was the right decision. But no one really tells you what happens after. How it lingers. How it changes you. How some days you feel fine. And other days you don't even recognize yourself. Since then, my anxiety has been worse. My depression deeper. And lately, with everything happening at once, I could barely eat. Barely sleep. Barely function. But he told me something that sounded right. Come with me this weekend, he said. Clear your head. So I did. I trusted him. The trip itself was fine. Quiet. Nothing special. But nothing bad either. And honestly, I needed that. Just something neutral. Something that didn't hurt. The flight there went smoothly. No issues. No stress. But what I didn't realize was that something had already gone wrong. Something small. Something that shouldn't have mattered, but would end up changing everything. He booked my ticket. Using my nickname. Not my legal name. And I've told him before. More than once. My official ID has my full Asian name. My nickname. It's not on anything. But somehow, he forgot. Or didn't think it mattered. And at first, it didn't. Because leaving the country was easy. Automated gates. No real checks. I got through. No problem. So neither of us thought about it again. Until it was time to come home. That's when everything stopped. The staff looked at my boarding pass. Then my ID. Then back at me. And I knew. Before they even said it. This doesn't match. I tried to explain. Tried to stay calm. Tried to fix it. But the answer was simple. Cold. Final. There's nothing we can do. And just like that, I wasn't getting on that flight. But he was. I thought. No. I assumed. He would stay. That this wasn't even a question. That we would figure it out together. Rebook. Wait. Take the next flight. Because that's what you do. For someone you love. Right. But instead, he looked at the time, looked at me, and said, "I'm going to go, I have an appointment." I actually thought he was joking. I even laughed a little, like my brain refused to process what he was saying. But he wasn't joking. He told me to stay. Alone. At the airport. For 4.5 hours. And just wait. I felt something shift in my chest. Not just hurt. Something deeper. Something colder. I asked him, "Are you serious?" And he said something that I don't think I'll ever forget. "Don't overreact." Overreact. I wasn't even reacting yet. I was still trying to understand how someone who claimed to love me could look at me, knowing everything I was going through, and decide I was optional. Because that's what it felt like. Like I was something he could just leave behind. He said he didn't want to pay for another ticket, that he'd pay for mine instead. The ticket was $50. 50. I've watched him drop thousands at the casino without blinking. Watched him lose money in a single night that could have paid for 10 trips like this. But this was too much. That's when it hit me. It was never about the money. It was about me. And where I stood in his priorities. Somewhere below convenience. Somewhere below effort. Somewhere below everything else. I could feel it happening. My breathing. My chest tightening. That familiar spiral. The one I've been trying to fight for months. I told him. Quietly. I think I'm about to have a panic attack. And instead of concern, he sighed. "Stop looking like you're about to cry, you're making me feel bad." That was it. That was the moment. Not when he chose to leave. Not when he refused to stay. But when he made my pains an inconvenience to him. I looked at him, and something inside me just gave up. I told him to go. And he did. No hesitation. No second glance. Just walked away. And boarded the plane. Like I wasn't standing there. Falling apart. Aftermath/twist. I don't remember how long I stood there. Everything felt loud. Too bright. Too much. But at the same time, like I wasn't really there. I called my best friend. And somehow, she pulled me back. Helped me breathe. Helped me think. I booked another ticket. Alone. Of course. Because that's how it ended. Me. Handling everything. Again. He sent me voice messages. Saying I was overreacting. That I was making him feel bad. That I should have empathy for him. Empathy. I couldn't even process my own emotions. And he wanted me to manage his too. So I didn't reply. For once, I chose silence. And in that silence, something became very clear. This wasn't just about the airport. Or the ticket. Or the flight. This was about a pattern. The night he accused me of not caring about him. While I was sitting in a hospital. Waiting to find out if my grandfather would survive. The way I kept making excuses for him. The way I kept choosing to see the good. And ignore everything else. Because I wanted it to work. Because I believed it could get better. Because I didn't want to admit that maybe it already wasn't. When I got home, He didn't apologize. He didn't ask if I was okay. He said, "What you did today was unacceptable." And something in me just snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just. Finally. I told him it was over. And for the first time, I meant it. He said, "Yeah, after today, of course." Like I was the problem. Like I was the one who broke something. But I didn't argue. Because I realized something important. You can't make someone understand your pain. When they've already decided it doesn't matter. I packed my things. Quietly. And when I walked out that night, I wasn't just leaving the apartment. I was leaving the version of myself that kept staying. That kept forgiving. That kept hoping. Because sometimes, the moment you feel most abandoned, is the moment you finally stop abandoning yourself. And that airport, it wasn't where I got left behind. It was where I finally saw the truth. And chose not to follow him anymore.